Hello, friends. How's it going? Happy November. It is Amy Mosher. I haven't been on live for a little while. A lot going on personally, professionally, but I just wanted to jump on. I promised one of my business coaches who's been helping me get back into the whole sort of speaking, more public speaking training, as opposed to hanging out in the back end with the technical challenges. I promised one of my coaches that I would be doing more of the thing I really enjoy, which is connecting with people, getting out front, again, away from the technical back end. For those of you who have your own company or you're directing a company, you know that all of the, um, sort of complications of operations can sort of weigh you down a little bit. So I'm getting more out front. I am reconnecting with my peeps, and we're doing something that I'm calling basically a November live series. And we're going to be going live, I should say myself, that's the plan, 5 times in November. So today is Thursday, November 6th, and we're going to be going live for the next couple weeks as well, Tuesday, Thursdays, depends on the time that works. But we're going to be talking about, a lot of the uncertainty that people are facing right now, and especially trying to support those of you who may be busy organizational leaders. You're looking to grow amidst the uncertainty. We see 2026 right around the bend, and we wanted to just sort of, I wanted to connect and give a little bit of insight about some of the top concerns, some, sort of hot topics, I guess you'd say, as we go into the new year. So today we're going to be talking about talent acquisition and engagement. So that will be the focus of today's live. And next week, we're going to be talking about economic uncertainty and budget constraints next Tuesday, which is also Veterans Day. Next Thursday, we're going to be talking about tech and AI transitions. I know that's at the tip of everyone's tongue, and that's all we hear, it feels like these days, is what we should be doing regarding incorporating AI into our ops. Also, we're going to be looking at intergenerational workforce trends, and then we'll wrap up Thursday, November 20th, which, if you can believe that, my goodness, almost Thanksgiving. We're going to be looking at purposeful work and really what it takes to build a world that works and build the world that we want. So I'm sort of excited about these topics. And if you guys have any thoughts yourself, please feel free to weigh in. And before we jump into today's topic, which again is talent acquisition and engagement, just some thoughts from the field on that, I do want to mention a few things that are coming up for those of you who have known I've been doing this for a little over a year now. The first Friday of the month, which happens to be tomorrow, so Friday, November 7th, we're going to be doing our monthly Coffee with Amy on the first Friday of the month. Again, that's tomorrow, November 7th, Friday, and we're going to be meeting up in person at the Taco Borough Cafe in Westboro. That's 201 Turnpike Road, aka Route 9 West, and it's inside of Release Wellbeing Center. So that's very exciting. I hope to see some of you live in person tomorrow if possible. And then next Thursday, so a week from today, Thursday, November 13th, we're going to be having what I call the Vine. It's sort of recently renamed. It was the spring or fall virtual networking event, but we are inserting the word intergenerational. So we are going to be having a virtual intergenerational networking event next Thursday between 12:30 and 2 p.m. on Zoom. Again, that's Thursday, November 13th. So let me know if you're interested in that. It's a really great opportunity for professionals of all ages and stages to meet, greet, grow. And if there's common interest, we can break into some Zoom breakout sessions. And I really enjoy facilitating that virtual intergenerational networking event twice a year. We do that both in the spring and the fall. So again, the fall Vine or virtual intergenerational networking event is going to be happening next Thursday, November 13th, again at 12:30 on Zoom. I would love to have you join us for that. And let's see what else. A little bit later in the month, so Tuesday, November 18th, we're going to be having just sort of a live internship Q&A for busy organizational leaders who have been thinking about potentially working with interns, maybe developing an internship program, but with everything else going on with the uncertainty, as we've mentioned, it may not be at the top of your business priority list. So I totally get that. And we're going to be meeting up on Zoom. Let's see, I think it's going to be Tuesday, November 18th from 10 to 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So that is what is coming up in November. Let's jump into today's topic that, a lot of organizational leaders, whether you're a business owner or you're running a nonprofit or a department, you're looking out at, well, who's on your team, right? What are the important things that we are up to as a team? What are we working on? What is that sort of anchor priority, right? Sometimes we feel like we've got all these different moving parts. It feels like we're, running around chickens without our head. And it can feel a little bit almost premature where we're looking to see, well, who's being assigned what on the team and where are the gaps, which could identify some need for talent acquisition. So new folks joining the team in various capacities. But, I think starting before we even look at talent acquisition and sort of, the trends around that and some tips on that, really taking a look, maybe it's sort of stepping back for a moment and sort of saying, what is it that we're out to accomplish? What is the most important thing and why? What are we working toward? I know a lot of times we do various goal setting activities. I was actually just in a chamber of Commerce workshop yesterday. Shout out to my colleague Jeremy. He gave, not just a sort of smart goal setting workshop, but he talked about, what are the right goals to be setting and why. So really taking a look at that before you get all worked up about, your talent needs per se. Okay, so once you sort of figure out what is the most important anchor priority, right? The key focus, especially for, let's say you plan in typically quarterly increments. So over the next 90 days, what is it that your team is really focused on? And then where are we at in terms of current team members? Sometimes there are people that have been on or around your team for a long time, and there's different, there's certainly sort of they bring a longevity, they bring an insight, right? Because they've been around and they have that institutional knowledge. So that's very valuable. Often that's an asset. So looking to see, what is already working in terms of the people on your team. Are there people also that have been around for a little while or perhaps newer hires, and they could be supported by various targeted trainings, right? So you could, invest. I know it takes, time and money like anything else to invest in your incumbent or your current workforce. And then there's sort of the areas that we identify specific gaps. And it's like, okay, we need to really focus on specific talent acquisition to fill the gaps. And of course, we're not going to get too much into AI today. And I am not an AI expert, just to put that out there. But I am somebody who's very keen on intergenerational workforce development. And I know that certainly AI is playing a pretty major role in a lot of people's thought process these days, especially when it comes to talent acquisition. So, how is it that you're already looking for the people that you need on your team? Are you going through your warm networks? That's pretty typical, right? Oftentimes, one of the first places that job seekers go to find opportunities is online, right? The various job search sites. So whether that be Indeed or directly on LinkedIn or various other places where you can be posting and looking for people to join your team. But often a lot of times people in hiring positions, as you know, so whether that's a direct HR company or you're working perhaps with some sort of an agency, right, or a recruitment firm, you're partnered up with them, they're thinking about who they already know in their warm network. And so that's really important because it is, who do we know, like, and trust that we would like to bring onto our team and see that cultural fit. So that's an important sort of talent acquisition strategy. And how are you going about sort of connecting with the people that are already in your warm market, as well as reaching out to those people that may not be in your direct market? And then where does sort of like AI fit into all of this? What are the specific skills that you do need those new hires to have when they come on board, right? So there are skills that we need people to have, especially if they're, in an actual paid position, as opposed to, let's say, maybe, another option. We don't need to talk about internships right now, but is, internships, whether they're paid or non-paid. So there's other ways for people to obviously join your teams and be part of your company. your organization. Um, but looking to see, what is it that you feel like is missing in terms of a specific skill set or a specific experience or insight that you could recruit based on that. And that can be pretty exciting for the right person to feel like they're coming in and able to make that difference on your team. So, I'm curious, if you guys want to drop anything in the comments, what is your existing talent acquisition strategy and how is that working for you, right? And to what extent are you going through warm network versus working with recruitment agencies or posting online, and what's working and what's not working? What is something that you want to continue in terms of your talent acquisition strategy going into the new year, of course, amidst all the uncertainty that's all around us? And they say the only certainty is actually uncertainty itself. But what's working well as you look out into the new year, as you look out into quarter one, quarter two of 2026? What is it that you want to maintain or do more of what you're already doing? And what's really not working well for you that you may want to adjust your talent acquisition strategy? And then, you can't talk about talent acquisition without talking about engagement and retention, right? So once you acquire the right talent, so to speak, on your team, how is it that you're engaging those new hires, right? So whether they come in with more experience and, with transferable skills, or they're really an early career new hire, either way, how is it that you're engaging those people from the get-go? Do they feel like they're part of a community that cares about them or a culture that cares about each person? A lot of today's work, as we know, it's could be hybrid, it could be in some cases still fully remote, or going remote, or vice versa. But how do those people feel both the sense of belonging, but also a sense of flexibility and respect, right? I think we definitely, you guys don't need me to tell you this, but a lot had changed since COVID in terms of the average employee's expectations. And so, what is that balance between a sense of belonging, but also being flexible with your employees? Because certainly flexibility and respecting the workers' life and priorities as well outside of work is also something to be thought of when it comes to actually retention. So other ways to engage employees of all ages and stages, but especially young people today, they want to really feel like they're doing meaningful, not just menial work. And we will, revisit this whole idea of purposeful work toward the end of the month. As I mentioned, I'm going to be going live 5 times this month on LinkedIn, thanks to a little challenge from a speaker coach that I've been working with. So thank you, April. You know who you are. And, in terms of other ways to engage workers today, it's making sure they're plugged into meaningful work, not just menial work, especially young people today. That's something that is stated a lot. And there's sometimes a miss between the employees and the employers. But you know what? Obviously, there's, that's life, right? There are certain things that younger employees need to know that just need to get done. And it's still very valuable that they're doing what needs to be done for the organization, even if it isn't in the moment the most meaningful or purposeful work. So there needs to be that healthy balance. But again, another really great engagement strategy is to connect with your workers, especially if they're more remote, and just checking in, providing them with some mutual feedback, mentorship opportunities for growth and development, maybe some sort of professional development that they opt for that also helps your company's bottom line. That's a really nice way to engage your employees. There could even be something that they may want to share about, something that's of interest. Maybe it's a specialty or an interest that they have, and they could do some peer teaching sessions in addition to other training that's helping them further their own career goals. So that's a really great way to engage your workers. And, just this feeling that they have some sort of upward mobility, a sense that if, they kind of dig in and certainly add value, and they need to prove that they're adding value to your team, but that there's sort of a path for progress for them. That's a really great way as well to engage your employees today. And, this all sort of directly ties to the very high cost of turnover. So when we're not doing, effective talent acquisition or engagement, it can often lead to retention problems. And we all know that the cost of replacing somebody who's already been recruited and onboarded, trained, and sort of poured into, that can be a pretty high expense in both time and money for the busy organizational leader. They don't want to feel like they're starting from scratch, right? So it's like putting the right systems in place early on to make sure that we're finding and we're engaging and retaining today's talent, I think is really great. And then, we'll talk more later in the month as well. There's other topics. Again, if you're just jumping on or watching the replay, we're going to be looking at next Tuesday, November 11th, which is also Veterans Day. We're going to be looking at economic uncertainty and budget constraints that businesses, both for-profits and nonprofits, are facing as we have 2026 upon us. There is a lot happening. You don't need me to tell you that, but how do we navigate inevitable uncertainty to continue to grow amidst the so many questions and question marks that we have, especially as leaders? So that'll be next Tuesday. Next Thursday, again, just a quick review. We're going to do a commentary on tech and AI transition as we head into 2026. And then the following week, again, we'll go live again Tuesday and Thursday, November 18th. That's a Tuesday. We're going to be looking at intergenerational workforce trends and really making sure that the employers are understanding today's young professionals and the young professionals are understanding today's employers. I really love that. There's sort of an intergenerational bridge that needs to happen. But again, what I've learned, it's not just about connecting, right, a young person to any old company. They both need to sort of be primed and understanding each other for that to be the most effective arrangement for everyone. And then we'll wrap up this November live series on Thursday, November 20th. So that's a week before Thanksgiving. I'm going to be going live on the 20th on a really, I'd say, heartfelt topic. We're going to be looking at purposeful work that builds the world that we want. And for those of you who know me, you know that I often use the ampersand. So we're looking at especially encouraging our young people today that we can both do well for ourselves professionally, financially, and also do the good work in the world, right? It's not one or the other. In fact, the world truly needs us to leverage our greatness, show up and in whatever leadership capacity we are in, and co-create a world that works. So I hope this was insightful, this topic today around talent acquisition and engagement. And I hope you'll be joining me or watching the replay for some of the additional live series that I mentioned this month on LinkedIn. And then I do just want to say again, if you're around Westboro, Massachusetts, I will be live in person tomorrow. That's Friday, November 7th for Coffee with Amy. We do that on the first Friday of the month at Taco Bro Cafe. That's inside of the Release Wellbeing Center. That's from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern on First Friday. Again, that's tomorrow, November 7th. And also super excited about the recently renamed The Vine. So this is the Fall Vine. That's the virtual intergenerational networking event we're going to be having on Zoom from 12:30 to 2 p.m. That's next Thursday. And that is actually part of a larger program supporting young professionals. And so that is something called the YP Network. And we do have different trainings and coaching sessions available for young professionals throughout the year between our annual conferences for young people. But again, in case we haven't chatted in a while, you guys, again, Amy from Visions Internships, coming up on 5 years in business this December. So really taking sort of I'll say a little bit of a pause and a reflection around, what we've been building here and where we're going moving forward. Very, very excited and proud to be serving, especially that busy organizational leader, helping you navigate intergenerational workforce dynamics, as well as in some cases helping to set up that customized internship program to meet your goals, and then supporting young people as well. And hopefully everybody wins, and I'm doing my part to heal this world. It could, use additional caring and helpful people. So I know that a lot of people in my network would say that that's how you describe yourself. And I would love, again, guys, if I haven't heard from you in a while, definitely please drop a comment. What are you working on? What are you up to? Please tell me what you are, working towards as we wrap up 2025, as we move into 2026. What are you wanting more of? What are you wanting less of? And how perhaps could I support you in some of your endeavors? So hope to see you guys again on the live next Tuesday. That'll be Veterans Day, November 11th. And please drop your comments, what you're up to, and any other thoughts or questions you have in the comments. Okay, take care.